Here we have our new landscaping outside the kitchen and sitting room extension. The sleepers and the beds which we're beginning to plant out. And I hope will look a bit like the beds up there in front of the studio. Past the wild irises, and there's a marvellous wisteria called Prolific. Fantastic scent, very prolific, and not a very big grower, so that's rather a good combination. But it's much less prolific at the moment because it was felled by a wind, strong winds in February. We pulled it upright and really chopped it about, so it's not quite what it was, but it's going to be again, I'm sure. Yes, past the wild irises and towards wisteria, peaches and cream. Very original, I'm sure. But the main reason is coming around here. I thought I would show you this white lilac given to me by a patient called Molly, who in turn had it from her aunt. So it's been through three lots of owners, and in fact something like 3 generations. That's the beauty of plants. So many of them can evoke memories of people and places. And the scent is gorgeous of this thing, by the way, as are the wisterias. Coming down to the walled garden gate, I noticed that rhododendron dalhousie has come out with its big yellow, creamy yellow flowers, which are scented. It's a lovely bush. And behind it, Rosa mutabilis. A wonderful rose that changes colour as it matures. Here's a rather vigorous double, sort of semi-double, clematis montana, later flowering than most, called Marjorie. Down the path to the cut-leaf beech, with this wonderful ferny foliage. A tree I planted about 1980-81. And behind it, the very first tree I planted, and this was a virgin bullock field, is this tulip tree, 1977. And I certainly couldn't get my arms around it now. Another month or so, and it'll be full of its yellow-green flowers. They are strange, because you never see them until you see the first one. Then you look again, and you see the tree is covered with them. It's the most weird thing. And in the background is the variegated sycamore. Simon Louis Frère. The Simon Louis brothers had a nursery in Paris. Strangely enough, we had a big sycamore, well it's still there obviously, in front of our old house, and it used to throw out seedlings occasionally with coloured leaves. I collected these seedlings and potted them on. One of them very much like this, and of course it doesn't revert like the dreaded Drummondi. And here is one of my seedlings as we're coming back up to the house. It's got an enormous tree. Attractive new growth, and a dark green variegation. Behind Water's memory, which of course is now over. Taking over for colour is the red-flowered horse chestnut, Aesculus carnea, which I planted in around 1980-81. It's got quite a big tree, full of colour, and when you're up close, you can hear the bumblebees all working on it. They love it. Here are some lilacs, just to choose a few. This one is Syringa vulgaris, Ruhm von Horstenstein. Ruhm von Horstenstein. Starts quite a dark purple and comes out and tails up to mauve. Lovely scent, of course. And opposite it is a paler flowered lilac, Catherine Hauermeyer. And in the distance, our friend Esther Staley, all with lovely scent. Not to be outdone by its blousy neighbours is the wild Syringa yunanensis from southwest China. It suckers away and really produces a lot of flower. We're coming up under the Davidia with its pocket handkerchiefs and the wonderful Pinus patula from Mexico, which I planted in about 1985 or 6. Such a lovely droopy needles. And the new growth is just starting, like candles. Talking of plants with memories attached, here is a rather sumptuous Japanese maple called Orange Dream. And this was given to me by the receptionist at the surgery when I retired. And just next to it, with a colour scheme to match, or at least blend, is rhododendron Nancy Evans. We come to another magnolia with very large leaves, Magnolia officinalis biloba. You can see why it's called biloba, because the leaves have got notches in them. This particular form comes out pink and then goes white, flattens out, and then looks horrible. Great shame, but we've got a day or two of beauty before destruction. And I think it looks lovely at the moment, surrounded by its collar of large leaves, which get even bigger. I want to show you this rhododendron lindleyi with its scented large trumpets. A gorgeous thing, very straggly, but never mind. Given to me by a dear friend who was a great plantsman and died, unfortunately, of cancer a couple of years ago, and he gave me and one or two of his friends some of his more precious plants to be looked after. Quite a responsibility. But as you can see, this rhododendron is doing really well. And every time I go past it, I think of him. And that's part of how gardening works, I think. We make our way towards 3 evergreen magnolias flowering away like mad. And the first one is this chap here, which rejoices in the name Magnolia foggii. Jack Fogg is the particular variety. Jack Fogg was a botanist in America who made this cross between two tender magnolias to produce a hardy one, or at least certainly pretty hardy, I would say. And very attractively, the flowers, which have a little red tip, come out of buds which are brown and hairy, furry, attractive combination. It is scented, and here we have another called Magnolia Fairy Blush. It's beginning to lose some of its pink colour, which come out in the new buds, but as the flowers develop, they do fade. But when I was passing by, I smelt a fantastic scent and discovered behind it a magnolia called Touch of Pink. More or less the same cross as the earlier Magnolia foggii. Now, Touch of Pink is rather a strange name, because you'd be very hard pressed to find any pink at all. And certainly only a touch, as you can see on this opening flower here at the edge of its petals. But that soon disappears and the flower becomes white. But what a wonderful scent. Gardenias and sweet, spicy aromas. It's a fantastic, moderately hardy evergreen magnolia. We're coming down now to this extraordinary thing that happened, which I will tell you about. And here we have a group of azaleas. Some of the reds are quite orange and difficult to place, but next to white they're all okay. And here is azalea, evergreen azalea called Bridal Bouquet, with its rather tight and exquisite rosettes. And to my surprise, in the middle of it, which I brought you down here to see, I spotted a clematis, which I planted years and years ago to come up a tree which has since died and fallen. The clematis disappeared. And then, blow me down, this year, after about 4 or 5 years of nothing, here it is. And it looks at me and says, "What on earth are you worried about?" But in fact, I think it's lovely. Omo Shiro it is, a low-growing clematis with relatively large flowers.